Ladies and gentlemen, I'll call the meeting of the Buckhannon City Council to order. It's 7 o'clock, as we normally do. As our normal tradition, I will ask us to take a moment for silent prayer and meditation. I will add that this is National Prayer Week, so I just wanted to throw that out there as well. After we do that, we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We are always pleased to see a nice crowd for our city council meetings, and it seems to be always a good crowd anymore, so that's excellent for us.
Either a good thing or a bad thing.
You know, I don't have anybody signed up as a recognized guest, but I do have our department and board reports with our agenda. So we'll start off with Mr. Doss, this evening, city administrator.
Do you want to yield to Chief Tacey? Does he have somewhere to go?
Go ahead if you're not. Go ahead. I don't have to be there at 7.
Okay, I know there was some discussion of that. You do have in front of you the financial report, excuse me, ending April 2015. Doing a report that currently this fiscal year, the city has collected $3,312,639.38 in revenue. And has expended at this point in the year $2,951,527.77, which is in excess of $361,111.61 revenues over expenditures. At this time, in ending April, I'm also happy to report that the general fund revenue projections for fiscal year 2014-15 have been met, and we are currently under budget in expenditures going into the last part of the fiscal year. You do again have a copy of that. If you need a comprehensive breakdown, you always see me after council or give me a call. I'd be happy to provide that to you. Under old business, home rule update, we are working, Mr. McCauley and myself are working on the 4 pillars, he calls them planks, of our home rule application. And you will notice that over the next several months, we will be presenting drafts to you on those legislations for those 4 pillars. I believe Mr. McCauley has provided you with a very rough draft of one of our pillars dealing with property maintenance, property tax liens, and the issuance of on-site citations. I'm sure Mr. McCauley will speak a little bit more about that when his department report is up. Under old business still staying, water rate update. City officials, AMBJ, Tom Kelly, and myself have been working with rate analysis CPA in finalizing the rate analysis. We are close to making a presentation regarding our water rates to the water board, and in the future, not so distant future, we will be proposing a rate ordinance to City Council. We're anticipating sometime next month, in the month of June. Still staying under old business, a fireworks contract. Comments and suggestions were made by our city attorney, and these were implemented in the new language of the contract. Pleased to report the contract has been signed by the city and by Dominion Fireworks, so we will have fireworks for the 4th of July weekend. Finally, under old business, just want to give you a website reminder that the city once again has revamped and redesigned its website. The address is buckhannon.wv.org, same address as we've had in the past. We encourage people in the community to visit the website. You'll see a lot of new changes and a lot of new information. It's our hope that we will be updating the website weekly and adding additional information such as minutes and proposed ordinances and all kinds of good things. Under new business, recreational complex, you all were presented a report or presentation by the Upshur County High School, Buckhannon Upshur High School students in regards to a recreational complex in the indoor complex. You've probably seen online and in the newspaper several months ago a draft drawing of a recreational complex. It's at this time, I hope that we can get together and do a presentation in June to the city regarding a design of a recreational aquatic sports complex. We're going to try to invite all of the leagues and all of the sport associations to the presentation as we formally roll this out to council and to the public on a larger scale. Under storm sewer system, the sanitary sewer department will be making a informational presentation regarding the city's current storm sewer system, which is actually owned and managed by the general fund, by council. I'm not sure if you all knew that or not. And the construction is actually contracted out from general fund or from council to do storm work by the sanitary sewer department. They want to give you an update and give you some information on our storm sewer system and the status and the condition of that system. I believe that's going to be at the next council meeting. And finally, under new business, we're working on something called a facade improvement grant. The mayor and I talked a little bit about this. A facade improvement grant in an effort to improve and enhance the aesthetics of our downtown businesses. It's our hope that city officials will be meeting with representatives from the Upshur County Development Authority and the Upshur County Chamber of Commerce to create a downtown facade improvement grants program. This program, again, we'll roll it out more formally to you at a later date, but this program will provide reimbursable funds up to 50% of the total cost, not to exceed $2,500, for facade improvements to downtown businesses, including but not limited to new signage, windows, awnings, lighting, landscape, and other exterior items such as painting, plaster, and brick masonry work. So we're going to work with the Development Authority and hopefully the Chamber to provide these grants to, again, assist in some of the aesthetics of the facades and for our downtown businesses and have a better looking downtown. So more to come. Just wanted to tease you with some of these items, and of course throughout the agenda I'll probably have more to comment on. So that's all I have at this time.
Good comment.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Yes, Mr. Pugh.
Facade improvement. Driving down Traders Alley today, gentleman out there with a big old roller on a brush, and the buildings are being painted white. It looks great. It's fresh. Traders Alley is going to be a really nice place to go when they get finished.
I will build on that, Ron. We've had discussions with one of the property owners there, Bryson, who actually owns two businesses, the theater and also Three Quarters Cafe. It's really unique with Traders Alley because it's defined as something, Traders Alley. But really it's an alley with one of the arteries connecting the downtown that's partially paved and partially gravel. And the gravel part is down near the park, Jawbone Park. So we've been talking to Jay and also to Jerry and also to Bryson about an opportunity to correct that street, get that little waggle, if you will, where the telephone poles and the electric poles are at, get that out of the way, pave that street, and partner with Bryson to do some aesthetically pleasing things to enhance and make Traders Alley a nice place and a defined place, where folks on pedestrian traffic can go and patron those businesses and bridge between Main Street and the park as well. So.
I'm always happy when we've got the business owners and the citizens partnering with the city of Buckhannon, with us. It shows that we are looking forward. We're not regressing. It shows that they are looking forward, and believe it or not, one of the things for progressing into the next 10, 15, 20 years of business in Buckhannon is forget the past. Look at the future. Look what we can do in the future. Do not be afraid to bring controversial items up. We need those in order to improve what we're doing, and I'm proud of it.
I will say this, under the facade improvement grant program, if we get that implemented, projects such as that project, some of that would be available for some facade grant.
Would it be available maybe possibly for one of the wall murals?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. And did we not have facade grant, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years ago? Did we, Amby, one time?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I remember.
We that's part of what the conversation got started again. I came across it in minutes and thought, well, why did that stop? And
Yeah.
Is it time now to revisit that? So you're right, there
Good
was
job.
at one point. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Doss? All right, very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Doss. Next we have Chief Tasty from our fire department. Chief?
I've got someplace I need to be here in a little bit, so. I guess the biggest thing I have to report on is the ladder truck has arrived, and about 2 days ago we put it in service. Just ironically, our old ladder truck is broke down again, so we haven't really done anything formal with it. We spent the last several days trying to get our driver operators and our firefighters trained on it. You know, some of you may have seen on your way up here today, some guys out working. Tonight was our last training session. We're finishing up getting our firefighters trained on it. We spent several days with our driver operators, and the last couple of 3 days with our firefighters getting them trained. So it's moving on well. We are supposed, hopefully, and I believe that we'll be lettered by the Strawberry Festival. So we really haven't done. I've had some people ask us when we're calling the press and when we're doing this. We really wanted to get our guys familiar with it before we do a whole lot with it. It's a very expensive piece of equipment, and want to get it lettered to kind of look good in the paper. So I'll get with the folks at the press hopefully in the next couple of days and get that done. Another thing, just to get out there, the Vietnam Memorial traveling wall will be at the Buckhannon Fire Department. It's supposed to arrive next Thursday. Their guesstimate is about 3 p.m. It'll be there. We're going to put it in a fenced-in area, and it has 24-hour security on it. So I met with those folks today. We've kind of got the details of that worked out. Ladder truck, we've got new radios in it. We're meeting here a little bit to discuss about buying some. We need to buy a little bit more equipment for them. The radios are in. We have a few odds and end things we have ordered that aren't there for it yet. So, but if it gets called to service, it's ready to go. By the end of the season, we'll have everybody trained on it. That's all I have real quick, unless you have any questions. I met with the mayor today. There are a couple of things here on the agenda that I have concern about, and I don't know how he wants to address those. If you need any input or need anything from me before I go, that would be. I do want to congratulate. It's on the consent agenda. It may not get much notice. I do want to congratulate Joey Baxa and Brian Elmore. They both, with flying colors, successfully completed their promotional exam. They're both, I guess, after this tonight, will officially be lieutenants. I hope soon to come council meeting, we'll have a pinning ceremony for those guys. So they studied really hard, and really proud of them for doing that. So, a couple things that I was concerned about was the hiring of the allowance to go ahead and hire our extra firefighters. And I thought you may have some questions about the sealed bid that we received for a silver fire truck. So, Mayor, I'll leave that up to you. If you need input from me, that's fine. I felt uncomfortable leaving and those items kind of hanging out there.
Michael and I can actually answer probably most of those questions, but since you're here, we weren't sure that you were going to be able to make it at this point. I would ask council at this point if they do have any questions or comments regarding that. I feel confident that Michael and I, since we've been working with the chief on all this, could answer any questions you have, but since we have the chief here, I would allow the opportunity to interrupt the agenda to ask any questions pertaining to what he just suggested. The firefighters and the probationary firefighters and the bid. Does anybody have any questions or anything on that?
How much you selling it for?
We received a bid, a sealed bid for $15,000. $15,000. We received this. We are required by law to advertise it for sealed bids. We cannot do anything away from that. We did receive one sealed bid for $15,000. I think that bid is a little low, but that truck will soon be due for its annual ladder certification, and it will soon be due for its annual pump certification. That will cost probably a minimum of $2,000. As I say, it's sitting down in the fire station now. We've got a mechanic coming tomorrow. Hopefully, we've been a couple days trying to get some parts on it. We could spend forever trying to squeeze another $4,000 or $5,000 out of it, but I don't think that it's real. It's not realistic. It absolutely is wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
Any of the local fire departments were interested in that, smaller ones at all?
Oh, absolutely no.
I didn't know.
And the reason for that, number one, is we have one, so they know they can. But no, none of the other fire departments in the county, they don't have any place to house it.
It's so big.
And a ladder truck, if you're not prepared to staff it and maintain it, it's it's a necessity for us. It's very, very intricate, and they're very, very expensive, and you got to be pretty.
So you're okay with letting it go for 15?
Yes, yeah, I am. I've talked to the officers. We've sat down and actually had a meeting with the line officers, and we're all kind of the same sentiment that we're not going, if we could fool around forever trying to squeeze another $3,000 or $4,000 out of it, I don't think that's realistically going to happen.
Go ahead.
Ms. Mitch, I wanted to say thank you for the fire department working with the Strawberry Festival to hosting that event. I guess it's for the Strawberry Festival, having the Vietnam Memorial wall here. And I'm going to be working and getting the word out so we can meet them at Highway 33 when they get off 79, and have some people out there being supportive of them coming into town. So.
Well, it's fantastic. They've been trying for 2 or 3 years to
Yes,
get
they
it
have.
here, and this it finally came to fruition this year. We talked about it last year, and we just couldn't get the details worked
And
out.
I'm excited to make that announcement too, to both the VFW and the American Legion and the other veterans organizations too. Thank you.
Who are the 2 firemen we're going to approve, the probationary?
It's on a list in the packet, and we'll get.
They're the,
I just see the name here.
Ron, I'll tell you this, we're hiring 2 additional, but we're giving the approval to hire 3 because we have a current vacancy. They will be the 3 candidates that are on your list that have the highest test scores. I don't mean to, I'll just tell you that much, some of these gentlemen still have jobs, and I don't want to.
Okay,
And we
gotcha.
need,
I usually have
I will say I have verbal, all those folks have approached me and with a vote in the affirmative that they are willing to accept employment.
super.
My plan, just so we're clear, unless you folks tell me to do, or Michael to do something different, the plan is to start these gentlemen after the 1st of July when the new budget kicks in. We still have, we got to get them clothing, we still have to get a physical and have to do a background investigation on them as well. We never do the background investigation until we're ready to hire because it's expensive and time consuming.
Anything else for the chief?
Nope.
Thank you, chief, very much.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Night.
All right, next on our agenda, we have Chief Gregory from the Police Department. Chief?
2 chiefs? No.
Start out by apologizing to you folks for missing last week. I know it was my regular scheduled week. My son had a track meet that I attended to be there for him, so I apologize for missing last week. I just wanted to catch back up with you this week on some of the things we're involved in. Just last week we wrapped up our Citizens Police Academy. As you know, we've talked about that with council. The 9-week program is very successful, and a lot of folks really don't know what to do with themselves on Wednesday night now. So it was a really good time. It was good to get to know all the different folks that attended. We did realize some new members in the VIPS program as a result of our training, and we had a meeting with them last night and getting them integrated into the program itself and getting geared up for the next few weeks of the summer activities. That being said, the next program that we're going to partake in, and of course this is something that we started a couple of years ago, but we are planning on another youth police academy for our middle school and high school age students. And right now the dates we have set for that is the last week of July, and that'll be July 27th through the 31st, Monday through Friday. And it's a day camp type of activity. We hold it each of those 5 days, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon. Got a host of activities planned for the youth, some guest speakers coming in from the FBI to talk about social media safety. We have some representatives from the state police to come in and talk about forensics and crime scene evidence collection. And we've also tentatively got the DUI simulator coming in. Very neat. If none of you all have seen that, invite you to come down. That's actually scheduled for the first day, right? Yeah. July 27th at 9. It simulates a driving environment, and again, driving down the road, and it begins to simulate impairment. And so there's somebody that's a representative from the ABCA there to discuss the effects of impairment in driving, and so we're going to have that available as well. So a whole host of other things. We plan to mock accidents, mock crime scene, and just really make it educational. Very successful events. The last time we had it, we got to know on a first name basis with about 30 to 35 of our local youth. So we hope we should be getting applications out and flyers out to the media and to the schools here in the next week or so. We are setting a deadline for the applications to come in by June 5th. And again, more information on that will follow here real soon. I do encourage those, and if I could push this through the press, those that are interested to apply early, because it will fill up fast. We've already had interest in it. Folks have heard that we've been talking about this for a few months, and we've already had phone calls on people wanting to get their names on that. So we're planning on that. We are gearing up for the Strawberry Festival and the many activities that come with that. That begins this Saturday. A lot of activities in town this Saturday, beginning with the graduation from Wesleyan College. We said goodbye to a volunteer of ours, Caitlin Brown. She a very emotional goodbye. She was very attached to the officers and the police department, and pretty much every time it came up for the last 3 or 4 months, she cried. She's graduating and moving on. We presented her with some patches and one of our challenge coins that we have for the officers, kind of as a thank you and a departing gift. We can't say goodbye around her, it's just see you later. And she actually said that in the letter. It's a really, really nice letter that she wrote for us. And so she'll be sorely missed. She was, as you all know, it was a volunteer through the Service Scholars Program. And I told her she's the example of what every college student should hope to be. She was a remarkable young lady, and I'm sure she'll be very, very successful in life and whatever she chooses to do.
She graduates Saturday?
She graduates Saturday.
What was her major?
It was a business, and she switched to concentration in communication and planning.
That's what you're looking at.
She wants to be a police chief.
Yeah, she'd be a good one. She'd be a good one. She kept us straight. So she was involved in a lot of our activities. To talk about the Youth Academy and the Citizens Police Academy, she was instrumental in getting a lot of those designed and implemented. Yeah, she'll be sorely missed. And we hope to continue with that program. We've been partners with the college for a number of years. From that same program, we've had a work study over the last year. And she'll probably continue with this for a while. She's only a sophomore now. But the volunteer program, we will continue as well. But she'll be hard to replace, certainly. As we gear up for Strawberry Festival, just want to make an announcement to council, if I could. Once I get through the festival, of course my plate's very full dealing with this, you can imagine, all the things that are going on. But I do plan on starting correspondence with the West Virginia Fusion Center for the purpose of removing the ALPR from the cruiser. I say that not because I don't believe it's a good machine. I've always believed it's a good tool. I always believe that there are benefits to having it. However, we've had it for a year and a half. I don't feel personally that, first and foremost, it's met the goals that we thought it would, meaning stopping stolen cars, all the benefits that are with it. We just didn't realize that. And secondly, I just no longer want it to be a divisive issue for the community. That was never my intent. When we looked at getting it, it was never my intent when we had it, and it's not my intent now. So that being said, I will correspond with them once we get through the festival, and as set forth in their policy, we have to give them some notice. I'll get that notice down to them to have that removed. That being said, we have realized that obviously we tried it, believing it was a good instrument. You just can't put all your eggs in the basket of technology. Technology is great, but at the end of the day, I think that what's most beneficial to us is at the police department is human resources, manpower. As you folks know, that's something we've talked about on and off for a number of years now, the needs for manpower with the police department. In fact, at least 8 years ago, I approached council. At that time, we had 7 officers with a plan to increase our manpower strength to 10 officers, which based on that plan, we did increase to that level and operated, in my opinion, and my staff's opinion, very successfully with 10 officers for 2 years. As you know, we've had some turnover over the years. We were cut back to as low as 8 officers after that turnover. We got back to 9, but we've never realized our currently authorized strength of 10 officers that we had just a few years ago and was very successful with. So that being said, as we move forward, I just want to impress upon council to keep that in mind, to know that it's still very important to us. It always has been. We've never really let go of it, even though we're not talking about it constantly. We still feel very strongly about our manpower needs, just as we have over the last 8 years. And just want to impress upon council that hopefully as we move forward, that's something that council can address alongside with the police department in realizing returning back to our authorized strength of 10 officers. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Chief. I'll save my comments. Let's see if council's got to say. Council, you got any comments or questions for Chief?
Thank you.
I attended the police academy. I learned so much and I enjoyed it. And I also realized how much that you all have to do, not only out in the field, but once you get back into the office, you have areas of reports to do as well. And I want you to know I appreciate what you do and I'm proud of what you do.
I agree. I was also a student there and enjoyed it very much as always, but I'm looking forward to the youth academy again. I think it was middle school, well, both middle school and high school. We work with patriotism, Americanism, leadership, that kind of thing. I came in and I really enjoyed doing that for the
So
American.
think about what day would work good for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that again. And I want to tell you that one thing that I've learned through the training and working with the police department, and even being on council even more with the fire department too, that we can sit up here and we can be out there and we can listen, but we really don't know what they go through on an everyday basis. Okay, and the most important thing is that, when you got a police officer riding along, you can't have a fireman go along. But when you got a police officer riding along, you never know what's going to happen. And when that disaster strikes, that officer's down, he's alone, and that's not good. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Chief, I want to congratulate you as well on the academy. I've heard nothing but fantastic things in the paper, the press, and all of the education that you gave these folks, which will go out into the community so they really understand the work that you do and the hours of work besides the arrest, but the hours of paperwork. And then the investigations of, and then the court. I mean, there's so much more that our officers do besides go out and write tickets or go to traffic accidents. And I think a lot of times we forget that. And I appreciate you enlightening me. I've forgotten about the 10. And I have seen through the records and through the minutes and through some of the statistics that the 10th officer really does make the difference. So I look forward to progressing that conversation with you as well. Last but not least, the ALPR. I know that's a tough decision for you, and I understand the work of the technology. And as I've always said before, I supported the ALPR as long as the information stayed here or within the state of West Virginia. My problem was it was being transferred out. But there's nothing, as you said, that can replace human power, manpower out there. And I think the money is well worth the officer as opposed to maybe what the ALPR could have done for us here. In a larger city, that's different, but here. So I want to congratulate you on that, for making that. I know that was a tough decision for you, and I applaud you for that. Besides that, I want to make sure that that citizens are always welcome to go to the police department. There are paperwork there. We have academies. If you don't understand what the needs are of the police department, I think it's the citizen's obligation to go down and find out what they are. It's just not your city council. It's just not your city leaders that have to do this. It's the citizens. It's part of your civic duty to do that, just like we're doing with the fire department.
Right.
I look forward to progressing the conversation on the police department, perhaps on how we actually do. I think it's about time, after we discuss what we're going to discuss here a little bit further down in decision, down in our agenda, that we start considering what we can do to help fund that 10th officer and come back into the right budget. That's all I have. Go ahead, Pam.
Since you brought up the police department, I still say we need a sign down there that says the police department.
Yes,
I
we
still
do.
I still get people come,
True.
where's your police department? I thought it was down here. I said, it's been moved for almost, 2 years now? And there's still people not
About
sure
a year.
where it is. And we really do need a sign to know where to go.
You can tell the fire department's there.
Yes, yes.
Duh, fire trucks.
Yes.
But not always cars there, so we need a sign down there.
I agree.
We do.
I agree. Okay, let's get that onto the agenda for consolidated, and we'll see what we can get about that as soon as possible.
And also, I'm not sure, but you know that side door you guys go in and out? I really think we need a doorbell there for, in case of an emergency type thing. Somebody
Yeah,
needs to.
that's a good idea, because I've had to use that 1 or 2 times to,
Yeah, because I came down one night with a friend and there's no
Yeah.
doorbell to even get attention of, the police officers or anything.
yeah.
Yeah, we used to have one here at City Hall.
Good
I mean, we
idea.
typically don't like to use that during business hours.
Right, I
We like to use the
understand.
front.
Yeah.
That's why we
Use
put the
the
sign
front
up.
door.
I'm talking about nighttime. I mean, sometimes somebody's in a hurry, an emergency,
Good idea.
so,
Both good ideas. We'll bring those consolidated as well. I think we have room in the budget to do that as well.
yeah.
I have one comment.
Sure.
What happened, are we still considering the bicycle patrol for this summer?
Yes, sir. In fact, the officers, I've got 2 officers and myself, when I can work myself into it, that are having the bikes serviced right now.
Okay.
I've got uniforms ordered for the officers, and they plan on having it out next week.
You'd think the citizens would have forgotten about the bicycle patrol, but believe it or not, those comments come to me all the time about, where are the bicycles? When are they gonna come back? So, appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate having them
they're
out
very
there.
enthusiastic. I'm happy
Yeah.
I'm happy that they're taking it on, and
Yeah.
expect to see it real soon.
I too am looking forward to seeing if we can find a way to get you 10th officer. I've seen what you do down there. I don't know how y'all do it all. And I'm looking forward to exploring that.
Well, I am too, but I'm looking forward to maybe having somebody could be more of an investigator or detective type person that could help you out and free up some of the other officers to do things like that. So, discussion is what we need, so.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I talked to somebody today. It's just coincidental, I assure you. Somebody who works high up in the county level. And they had mentioned that, did we have somebody that was particularly the investigator? I might remind you that the county has Mark Davis, their lieutenant, who specifically deals with investigations. I do believe the 10th officer would free up one of your officers, your best investigator probably, and I won't mention who that would be, but to really be able to get in depth in a lot of things we've got going on in the committee, so
Yeah,
that'd be
absolutely.
great.
Probably had the same conversation I have with some of the officials who said, I realize your manpower, you got manpower constraints and you're limited in what you can do, but I truly wish that you had somebody that can, focus on all the major crimes, because you would have much more consistency. Not to say that the rest of them aren't doing a good job. It's just if you have one person that focuses and specializes on it, you could have consistency and be able to, not have to worry about them juggling a million other things.
Mr. Mayor, I know we're getting another, but I would like to hear from Lieutenant Loudon when we were in training, what he did with the students at Wesleyan, teaching them that special, I think you should share that kind of stuff, okay?
I was working in a battery investigation between a couple of the Wesleyan students. Turned out not to have occurred the way it was reported. However, the incident occurred at Night Train Pub here on North Canal Street. So when I was in there getting the video, the bartender asked me if I knew anybody that could teach self-defense. And sure enough, I had somebody, because last year we put on a self-defense class at Wesleyan. Only 5 people showed up, okay? So the bar owner said that he would be willing to host the class on a Tuesday night, because the bar's not open on Tuesday nights. So I contacted my friend. He's the president of our FOP lodge. He's also a self-defense instructor for Huttonsville Correctional Facility. So he was more than willing to come to night training and take a class. And we had about 9 or 10 people, give or take. But he was the bar owner was expecting more people to show up, but 10's pretty good, especially for the space that he had. And we hosted a self-defense class there for some of the girls that were.
These were women.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought that was. I wanted to say there were women, and what's his? I know his name just as good as I can. What the bar owner?
Phil Campbell.
Phil Campbell, yes. And what a great thing that he's providing, and not only just transportation, but working with the police department to have things like that taught right there in his own place of business. It's
I
awesome.
commended him for having the drunk bus,
I did
and
too.
I commended him for taking on that challenge of hosting that class. You don't see that very often.
No.
Just
So,
from a bar owner or a club owner, they're not concerned with that. They're just concerned with the night. But keeping in mind that a lot of the violence stems from
Yep.
those places. So that's probably why they don't, as many others. And I commend Mr. Campbell as well. He's very civic minded and a very good man. So thank you very much for doing that. And I saw that on social media. I was wondering, I was going to ask you today too, how many showed up for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else for the chief? Chief, thank you so much. We appreciate all your work. Good luck for the
Be safe. It's a jungle out there.
All right, next we have Jerry Arnold, Street Waste Department. Sir.
Consolidated Public Works Board, they approved the use of Joel Park for the Arts Festival Saturday, September 19th, noon to 8. Authorized an agreement to sell 10 spaces in Lot 6 to try to alleviate the line of sight issues at the triangle. Approved a request from Almost Heaven Barbecue Bash, tabled a request from Stockard Youth Center for 4th of July, or the 4th of July committee. There were some questions the mayor had, which was going to follow up on. Approved a budget revision, approved the revisions to the cemetery rules and regulations, and approved the parking lot redesign. Waste Board met this evening, approved the 15-16 budget. We are changing the collection of bulky goods, actually not changing, but going back to what our tariff says. We're going to be collecting once a month and limiting the items to 4 a month. Also, at Jeff Wamsley, and he does our electronic recycling on site, and we're looking at doing electronic recycling with another company, simply because it, instead of paying, it pays us a little bit. So I think it's Shine Month. Just a quick report on that. If you remember in April, all 4 Saturdays of April, we did a free day as well as hosted the celebration of recycling out of Crossroads. And in total, we had 290 participants. That's 290 loads of trash coming in at 63.99 tons. Total cost to waste collection for the entire month, all events with labor and tipping fees, was about $6,453.45. So that was a contribution from waste, and all of that waste came from our customers. So that was mainly from in town. We had looks like about 106 loads from just in the city.
Wow.
That was brought.
We have that once a year or twice?
Once a year.
Once a year.
April's make it Shine Month. And again, we also have throughout the year the bulk system. In street, we are, or have been, and have completed the installation of the playground equipment at the city park. We continue to work there. We have, and probably will all summer with upgrades we're making there. Also, right now we're trying to repair some sewer cuts, one on West Lincoln Street, prior to festival. The other one's down here on Kanawha. And we're preparing for the Strawberry Festival. That pretty much ties us up for the next week anyway. That's all I have unless there's questions, Mayor.
Council, any questions or comments for Jerry?
City Park looks nice.
It does.
It will get better.
Well, it looks nice.
And I think it's a great service what we do, Make It Shine Month. You know, I don't know about other cities and how they go about that, but that's an extra penny that we provide our customers, and I like that, to give her that stuff.
And there'll be something brought up in the news media or some kind of publication letting them know we're going back to the original.
We will publish it twice.
Okay.
Jerry, since we have the new lights on down East Main, when and is the other lights going to be turned off or taken
We'll
down?
meet with Steve Jones and try to get that answer. I don't have that answer right now.
Okay.
With the tire company and try to get those taken down. I seen that we had a request for a light in another location here off of Main. That came in today, so it may be such a thing, we gotta take those down and maybe supply one somewhere else, but
Well, what I mean, well,
Go ahead.
we're paying for that though, right?
yes,
That-
yes.
So we're basically paying double lighting down through there.
Right.
He's on. Go ahead.
Oh, Jerry, what about over at the city park? Are there going to be, there was some vandalism there at one time at the restroom. Is there going to be any additional lighting put up out there, or have I missed that?
At the city park,
Yeah.
we are putting up, we have cameras, they're not installed yet. There's going to be surveillance on the park at all times. And I will say that just from the removal of the trees in front,
Yeah.
that has curbed somewhat. And
Opening it
we also moved a lot of the cut stones, they were using those to climb up on like the roof of the restroom, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
trying to think ahead a little bit,
Yeah.
but yes, we are installing cameras
Oh,
now.
boogers.
Well, I heard that since you took the trees down, that there's not been one act of vandalism.
Well, there wasn't, and we spoke too soon. But someone did burn a spot on the new
Yes.
playground, on the catwalk of the new playground, burnt the paint off of it. You know, like
Well.
just a perfectly round circle like a bucket.
They should
so-
feel ashamed of themselves for doing that.
I know, you
All
should
the
be
money
ashamed.
The amount of money that we spend to improve these
Yes.
parks and to put that out there, and there's a special coating, that's why it's so expensive for us to buy this equipment. That somebody took some form of can or something, put it on there, lit it on fire, and it burned off the rubber and all the rest on there. That is ridiculous, and I'm sad to say that kids are being so disrespectful. I think it's time for parents to step up, and I want to see the citizens, if you see kids out there and you,
Let's go snatch them up.
something's got to be done about that. I'm just mad. That just really upsets me when that happens.
Well, me too.
Go ahead, Pam.
Okay, one other thing I want to ask, Jerry, is there plans to put the fence back up that's clear in the back of City Park?
Up on top?
Yes.
No.
We want our fence.
We want our fence.
Yes.
Thing is, I've always thought it was more detrimental if you have it down, because it's a hiding place for young people to go down through those woods and do things they shouldn't be doing, and they get there easier,
And they get out easier.
and they get out
We put
easier.
up a fence that has a gate in it at the top. That fence always had an opening at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you remember in Consolidated, Dr. Greenbrier Almond was looking for a defined trail through the park.
Right.
And there is currently a footpath through the park coming off of Academy Street. And, you know, we were looking at maybe developing that even more using some of our reclaimed stone from the winter, some of the use for that. So we can put a fence up. If we put a fence up though, I would recommend that it's a fence, not a fence with a hole in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Or we don't put a fence up. It doesn't make a lot of, I deal with farm animals. It doesn't make a lot of sense to put a fence up and leave a hole in it.
Right.
Well-
I just feel it's a place for young people to hide out in those woods
Not just young.
and do things they shouldn't be doing.
It's also a great place for them to go play in the daytime. Build forts.
Yeah, I think this really
Then they
needs to go to
need to
Consolidated
enter
and
from the
discuss, and I think that this has been a discussion for years again. Another one of these things that we keep having to deal with. We'll take it back to Consolidated to see what we have to say. But before we do that, I see Alyssa Mills would like
The
to
only
mention
thing,
something.
when Matt was, and I'm sorry he left, but the last time when they took the fence down, those of us that lived down there were very upset because that fence had a purpose. And even though it didn't necessarily have a straight hole in it, it had a pass-through. So even a track star trying to run from the police still had to really watch their path. I think that was, well, I'm sure there were different reasons for that, but Matt even said he didn't have a problem with the pass-through. That way people could still walk or they could ride a bike or whatever, but you couldn't make really good time if you were running downhill, you might be able to. But going uphill, you had to prepare for that pass-through. But the main thing is, there's been a group, and I'll tell it, I mean, I'm sure everybody in Buckhannon knows. I'm the one that if I see strange cars down there at night and the park's closed, I've got the comm center on speed dial. Especially since the park's been fixed up. And we've got older people, we've got at least one couple down at the end that are not well at all and probably couldn't defend themselves in a really bad situation. And we've got to watch out for each other and our neighbors. So we watch. And if I see a car, I'll from time to time go down and get their license number. I don't care. But anyway, there's a group of kids that have been coming down through there at night after the park closes, and I've seen them. There's 3 or 4 of them. These don't look like, I'm not saying they're not, but they don't look like local kids. The only time I've ever seen these kids is around dark, at dark, coming down through that park. And if they see you, they'll just kind of look at you like, you want to say something? Which there's nothing to say. I just watch them, and then they go down Gum Street. And I think that we need to do something to try to curtail the activity coming down through that park.
Bring up good points, really. And I think that the city is looking at some things that we can do. How do I put this? We can actually be able to surveil that property to be able to catch perhaps that type of activity.
I can't wait. And on top of that, we've got a neighbor who's into, well, he's a genius. And he actually has a, Robin, do you remember what he called that thing? It's not a night vision camera. It's something else altogether. And he's talked to Robin about setting it up on her property where he can actually monitor it from his house to see what's going on down there. And it picks things up pretty clearly.
Ever since these last acts of vandalism, the city has decided, and we hate to do it because of the privacy issues and all of that, you should be able to go without being surveilled. But unfortunately, because of the activities of others, we have to have that there. And I do want the youth to know that, yes, we're going to be putting things out there, not at just that park, but at other parks. And good luck finding it, because we're not going to be able to make it that easy for you this time.
Well, no,
I guarantee you.
not only that, but it protects some too.
Exactly, it does. So I just want to throw that out there, but this is all for consolidated, and we'll bring that up, and we will make sure we bring up the fence and the rest of that. And Jerry, thank you for all you do on that. Was there any other comments or questions from council?
I have a comment about the people that are doing vandalism. If they're children, if they're juveniles, we can charge their parents if we can find them. And I am 100% in favor of prosecuting these people if we find them. I do not believe, I don't believe in slapping them on the wrist and saying, go home. No, we got to prosecute them.
Very
Too
good.
hard,
I agree.
too much good money.
Well, can you not still make the kids go and do like some repair of what they did?
The judge could do that. We can't. We could request.
I think, yeah, because I think that would certainly be an idea. Not saying I've ever had to do it, but I'll tell you what, it certainly makes you rethink doing things.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Okay.
Jerry, the parks look wonderful.
They do.
The trees you planted around, the fencing, and I watched your men work while they were doing all that, and they are absolutely great workers. You didn't see them standing around not doing anything. They were on top of it, and I commend you for having employees like that.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Arnold, and thank your crews, and good luck this week.
Yeah.
By the way, there was a request. The city council would like to help at night as they clean up the streets. You're more than welcome to come out with the crews and see how that works. Right?
Do what?
Council cleaning up.
You're welcome to come out.
Oh, I mean, and so you do your magic when, like, we go to bed and there's mess everywhere, and then all of a sudden, next morning it's all gone?
What time do you do that?
What time do you do that?
They start midnight.
We start, the street department starts at midnight. Waste collection starts about 10 up on the parade route. Thank you all.
All right, Mr. Holland, city engineer. Thank you. Sorry it took so long.
All right, on the first couple pages, right after the blue agenda, is my report for you all to peruse while I'm talking about it, so I'll just go through them. The FEMA grant generators, still waiting to get our notice to proceed. The reason I keep bringing this up is because, I have to prepare a bid package with drawings and specifications and, have that approved by the FEMA office down in Charleston. And I would just like to get that taken care of rather quickly because there's plenty of other things that are on the table, but I just don't want to be surprised and I'm getting in the middle of something else and then all of a sudden I have to finish up the generator project. But as soon as I receive the notice to proceed, I'm going to stop work on my other side projects and get this one started on and wrapped up. This kind of ties into what Michael mentioned earlier, the water treatment plant improvements. Spoke with Chapman Technical Group this morning, and they are expecting to be ready to go out to bid and advertise within 3 months or whenever we deem it's the appropriate time. But the drawings and specifications should be wrapped up within the next 3 months, and so then that'll go to the health department for approval, and then it'll be shovel ready whenever we are ready. The Lumos fiber optic installation at Jawbone Park kind of ties in again with what Michael was mentioning. We had discussed this project, and Michael and I have decided that maybe it would be best to survey the location of Traders Alley, where the property lines truly are, where we can know what type of developments can go up. We want to use that survey to relocate one utility pole and an electrical panel pole that feeds Jawbone Park. We want to take out an extra utility pole that serves no purpose other than to hold a transformer. And then that'll take that little jog that Michael was speaking about, and Traders Alley will be a straight shot, either pedestrian or vehicular, down to Jawbone Park. So talking with the surveyor, and they don't want to do that. Well, I don't want them to do that while the Strawberry Festival is going on, because sure enough, as we set stuff in the ground, somebody's going to pull it out. So we'll wait till after the Strawberry Festival and locate those corners. A brief update on the McDonald's Route 20 lane widening project.
Yes.
Spoke with the project manager today, and there's been a little change in schedule. Utilities are still being relocated. Additional right-of-way is being negotiated and soon to be acquired with property owners in the area. They anticipate advertising, bidding, and awarding of the project now in July, not May, now in July, with construction starting in August. That's all I have on the Route 20 lane widening project. One of the projects that I'm working on as time permits, and I was actually working on that this evening before City Council, was the water storage tank. I'm still working on the specifications and the drawings as time permit. It's going to be anywhere between a 670,000 gallon and a 1 million gallon tank. The Atlantic Coast Pipeline letter, I sent that letter of concern to FERC on April 23rd, and as of today, there's still nothing that's been received from Dominion in regards to the river and stream crossings. Nothing new to report on the Gateway West project, other than it's still eligible for funding. When I spoke with that particular project manager, we're looking probably now at December or January before they make a decision on that particular project for us. December of this year, January of next. The Army Corps Engineer Flood Protection Project, as you know, we had a meeting with them March 27th, and it was a very good meeting, and we came up with Jerry, Michael, Tim Rock, Sam, lots of different parties came up together with an action plan. We had sent that action plan to the Corps to review and receive their comments. They liked the plans that we presented. As I've detailed in my little summary here, there's those 7 bullet points that we need to address. The only thing that they had a concern or a comment about, wasn't really a concern, was they want us to develop a maintenance log and track what activities we're doing at approximately what location we're doing those activities, and have those available to the Army Corps at any time so that they can see that we are doing work and making progress on getting the vegetation under control, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
And finally, I hope to end it on a good note. I was really hoping for the dollar figures to come in, but the Source Water Protection Plan, we received some good news from the Department of Health and Human Resources and the Region 7 Planning and Development Council earlier this week. As part of our Source Water Protection Plan, we must conduct what's called a feasibility study, and that feasibility study has to look at these 4 items: the constructing or establishing of a secondary or backup raw water intake that draws water from a different source, constructing either additional raw water storage or finished water storage for at least 2 days, so in case of an emergency, we have at least 2 days of water supply. Creating or constructing an interconnection between another water producer, West Virginia American Water in Weston, or somebody close to the Randolph County line, another water producer, not a reseller, so that if there is a problem in one of these local areas, somebody else can pick up the slack and help them. And item number 4, if there are any other alternative sources of water. We all know that we've discussed the mine water in Adrian and all that. Well, that was part of the feasibility study, and we estimated, I think, and Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere between 75 and 80,000 for this year's budget. But that was before the zone of critical concern increased 340%, and then they added the zone of peripheral concern. So this $75,000 to $80,000 we didn't feel was going to be enough, but because of all the work that Tom and Kelly and I have done to get out in front of this project, you know, that's going around the state, we were recommended by the local DHR representative to Charleston that we be eligible and to receive grant money for this next round, and we have, and they're going to fund completely the feasibility study. So I was going to have to take all that on and get with Tom and do all this stuff, and now I'll be working in conjunction with a qualified engineering firm that will be selected by the DHHR in Region 7. We'll get together, but they're going to do a lot of work. They're not doing the whole source water protection plans. Tom and I will still have to do that, but an engineering firm will be paid to consult and take care of the feasibility, which was the largest portion. So I estimate its value to be between about $100,000 to $125,000 that we're not going to have to pick up.
Wow.
And that's all I have to report.
All right.
Dan?
Yeah, the widening project, okay? Can you tell the public how that come about and why it's being done? Because of the letter that was in the paper?
Well, the lane widening project, I mean, is being done because of the traffic. You know, there are over 16,000 vehicles a day that go through that intersection. And it only took one to back up any traffic going southbound, because if somebody wanted to turn left on the College Avenue during the busy times, and there are quite a number of busy times, it could really back up. I've seen it back up past the funeral homes. And what they're doing is they're installing a third lane, a storage lane on property that they own. They're increasing the width. They're going to use almost all of their 60-foot right-of-way to put in 3 lanes of traffic and 2 sidewalks on the side. And they're going to put in a storage lane for people to turn left onto College Avenue, or that storage lane, I believe, is going to travel down a little further and tie into Marion Street. You know, so there'll be a little bump there. And then if somebody is exiting McDonald's and turning right, you know, you always had to wait for somebody from both directions to let you go. There'll be a little 1 or 2, possibly 3 storage lane, you know, so that the cars can leave McDonald's and then wait for an opening northbound in order to turn into there. But that's what it is. When did it start? I received my first notification of the project probably about 4 months into my coming on board with the city. I first really got into it in March of 2012. Sam and I had our first meeting with them regarding utility relocations and our concerns about where you're going to put the water line, where you're going to put the sewer line in May of 2012. And you know, we started receiving detailed and preliminary reports soon after that, you know, and it just kept going and
So
going.
it was the state's doing that, right?
Yes, it was not, I don't believe the city or the county, you know, it was doing that project. But I mean, they recognized the fact that 16,000 cars a day going through that intersection could create an issue.
Is the state utilizing any property other than their own right-of-way to go through there?
That's where I reported that they are negotiating. They have to buy a small corner, and they don't have to, but it would make it easier for city garbage trucks or city vehicles or larger trucks that maybe, not tractor trailers, but serve the college to make that right-hand turn. A truck always requires a larger right-hand radius than it does a left-hand radius. And right there between the college and Route 20, there's a little section that may be required. A good physical representation is that red maypole. 2 feet closer to McDonald's is the plus or minus approximate property line of the state's right-of-way.
And the corner
Well, that's where they would have to buy just a little bit.
Just a
you
little
know.
bit.
And I can't remember the square footage. Again, it's not our project, so I don't have those numbers right offhand. But, you know, the right-of-way, the 2 sidewalks and the 3 lanes, I want to say are 57 or 58 feet wide.
So the current playground is currently on state right-of-way?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The retaining wall at McDonald's is actually on the right-of-way. I mean, that's, you know, when McDonald's redid the site design and the new restaurant and all that stuff, you know, that retaining wall is located on their property. You know, it's on the property line, but that's approximately where that 6-foot wide sidewalk will go, then the 3 lanes, and then they'll flip over and do the other sidewalk. And then I believe the utility poles that have been relocated will, you know, butt up against the back of the sidewalk. I haven't seen the final plans, but those were the original intent.
Robin?
What do they intend to do for the pedestrians or the children leaving the school?
There are 3
4 lane traffic.
Again, it's just, there will be a visual and auditory crosswalks. You know, they will be raised, there will be no pedestrian traffic at vehicular travel lane level. You know, you'll step down via the ADA ramp, you know, approach slope, but they'll, and you know, instead of being just visual with a flashing light, there'll be auditory that I believe will count down. You know, 10, 9, 8, but I mean, it's going to be stopped in all directions. If you push one of the buttons, it's going to stop traffic in all directions, just like we have up here at Main Street. You know, there are, every intersection at Main Street and Route 20 are 3 lanes wide.
It would actually be safer for people who are walking than it is now.
And it'll
That would be my
faster
opinion.
going
I cannot
through.
speak for everybody else, but that would be my opinion. And it's, you know, it's going to be an improvement to what is there.
Thanks for answering that.
I mean, you know, that's just where we are.
Can I say something?
Please.
I just want to say, Jay, I know it was not your idea.
No, it wasn't.
I want everybody to know that. It was not little Jay's idea. This has been talked about for a long time, right here.
It's been a concern.
Yeah, it's been a concern, so.
Just a quick update as to why it's 60. Because I had questions on another project, and I actually met with the DOH in Weston. North Buckhannon was originally known as Buckhannon, and what's known as Buckhannon now was originally known as South Buckhannon. There are 7 turnpikes that were proposed and installed when we were still part of the state of Virginia, and one of those turnpikes was the one that we're concerned about, and it went from a 60-foot wide turnpike from all areas south of South Buckhannon, or what, and I'll call, to Victoria Street. And at Victoria Street, which is where the Red House and McDonald's and everything, where all the intersection is happening, that was the city limits. And it went from 60-foot state, you know, turnpike right away down to 40. And that's the only way that this project happens without adhering even more, you know, right away. You know, if it would have been 40 all the way through there, they'd have had to buy a 20-foot swath for that entire block. But at East Victoria Street is where it went from a 40-foot right-of-way, all areas north of East Victoria Street, to a 60-foot. So that's why they don't have to buy any additional property except for there at the corner.
You are so smart.
Well, wait, Mr. Dawson, do you have a question, sir?
I'm going to hold off on it.
Are you okay? You got your answer already?
No, I probably just shouldn't
The
say.
one thing I am concerned about is the pipeline going under the river. And like you said, Buckhannon River supplies 93% of our water source, correct?
Yes.
They won't contact you, which is very frustrating for me to even know about. Now, they can't do anything until they do, is that correct?
Well, I mean, we will have an opportunity to voice our opinions and concerns, but I would just like to get in front of it and address those concerns before they go to bidding and advertising, before the project is released. You know, and then, you know, they're constructing, and that's our, you know, installing the pipeline, and we haven't had a chance to input and voice our concerns and review what they're doing. I'd like to get, as an engineer, I'd like to take care of that stuff before it gets there and minimize the changes in the field as much as possible, you know.
I feel that this is a big concern, and I commend you for trying to take care of it as much as well as you can.
Well, see, and that's what I commend all of our department heads and our departments, just like you mentioned before, on the feasibility study, because of the fact that these guys are such overachievers and so far ahead of the game.
Got nothing else to
They
do.
must be things. That's why this stuff keeps working. And the late around 20, and in this case, Jay now being an intermediary or
Intervener.
intervener.
He's an intervener.
And we're already set first on the list with that. I'm sure we're probably one of the first. And you would have loved the letter I wrote. It was awesome. But it's because of the overachievers in all these departments that we have the ability and we actually have the success that we have from all this. So I've got to commend them all, and Jay again is always on all of this.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions for Mr. Holland? Thank you very much, Jay. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, Mr. McCauley, our city attorney, sir.
I would have been happy with last and least. A bunch of things to report. Like Matt Gregory, I was with a family thing. I was at the Harlem Globetrotters last council meeting. So anyway, some updates. A new thing first. During my 32, almost ready to start 33rd year with the city, there probably hasn't been but a few months that we haven't had at least one lawsuit pending. So I was mouthing off when we settled the last one that we didn't have one, and lo and behold, last week we got nailed with a new one. You have in your packet the complaint that was served upon the city last week. The Lampinans have sued the city and the city water board. Without getting into too many of the gory details, there was a water leak back end of December, 1st of January, 2013, 2014. There was an assessment done by our city engineer, Jay Holland, and our water department. The leak was very promptly fixed. The bank area above the Lampinen home was well saturated. As you might expect, as you think about January, February, lots of freezings and thawings and freezings and thawings. And there was some erosion that resulted to the bank above the house. Thereafter, we attempted to enter into an agreement, actually did enter into an agreement to do some remediation work. I think that was in March of 2014. By the time the crew was dispatched a couple of months later to start the work, the remedial work, the damage had exponentially increased. At that point, we revisited it with the state of West Virginia and also with Frontier Telephone, because it was actually their conduit that had created the channeling of the water to create these issues to begin with. It's very complicated, involved litigation. I have some additional thoughts, since it is a litigative matter, to share with council in executive session. But I think the public, since this is a public matter, the lawsuit is a public matter, the public has a right to know about the general facts involved with it. So I'll speak more about that, if I might, in executive session. More to follow. You have also, another one of the big new things is a half-baked, not even three-quarter baked yet. It's a preliminary draft of the first 4 planks of our home rule plan that was approved last October by the Municipal Home Rule Board. Everybody recalls that big day. Since then, a lot of things have changed. The state legislature, effective March 15, actually the legislation was signed on March 15 to become effective 90 days thereafter, which puts us into about June 12, June 13. Changed the way that we need to present these home rule ordinances. Previously, there had to be an initial preliminary filing with the Municipal Home Rule Board after a public hearing here. They would review it, send it back, then we would go through the regular ordinance process. It was unduly complicated to accomplish that. So beginning June 12, June 13, we won't need to get prior approval relative to those planks, those matters that were addressed in our original home rule plan, which is a good thing. We still have to do a post-adoption filing with the Municipal Home Rule Board, but that's a piece of cake compared to what we were going to have to do. The reason that we're going to put the kibosh for a couple of meetings on advancing any of these ordinances. We can't have a final reading on any of these ordinances until after the new legislation is in effect, June 12th. So what I am proposing to you is that the first of these ordinances, and 3 more following it, that you have a first reading on June 4th, and that you then consider passage and adoption of the ordinance on June 18th, which is 5-6 days after the effectuation of the new state statutes. You wouldn't want to adopt an ordinance under the old stuff, because then you would have to send it to the municipal home rule board, and that's what we're trying to circumvent. Okay, so just some things about this ordinance. I'm not going to do much, if any, reading, but there are a whole lot of whereases that go all the way back to November 3, 1936, that was in the home rule submittal that we did back in the summer, May, June of 2014, that talks about home rule. The home rule first phase pilot program that was adopted in 2007, second phase adopted in 2013, the city's formulation of its home rule plan and the submission of that, the home rule board approving that plan, and then we get into the particulars. The reason that this is probably the most important of the 4 home rule plank ordinances, this is going to be the cut and paste job that we're going to plug all these whereases into all 4. The enterprise zone, the halftime city patrol police officers, the online auction stuff, all of those things. There's going to be a lot of similar looks to those things as we kick off these ordinances. So I really don't know that we need to spend a whole lot of time with this tonight. Consider it a little bit of a homework assignment to acclimate yourselves with what's coming down the pike in the next 3 or 4 meetings, but you know what Michael Dawson on that. Some other things just to report about, I'll try to be quick. The mutual aid agreement, Matt Gregory was advised by Adam Gissy, Sheriff of Lewis County, that he had signed off on things and sent it to the Lewis County Commission for their signature. I don't know if that's occurred, haven't gotten it back yet. And then that's supposed to go on to the city of Weston from there. It's been about 2.5 months since I delivered that document, thinking that we'd have it back long before now, but things proceed slowly in places other than Buckhannon. Yeah. So that's good to hear. Suddenlink stuff. We continue to work toward a franchise agreement. There was a TV cable board meeting last week. The TV cable board recommended to the city council that instead of giving Suddenlink a 3-month, 90-day extension, that in fairness to Mr. McClure, who will be coming aboard in July, and again, some complex, convoluted issues with TV cable, that an additional 6-month extension be given to the cable company under the previous franchise agreement. And that is certainly my recommendation. Having done the last 4 or 5 franchise agreements, it's an involved process. I think the issues are pretty well defined now. Mr. Bach, the regional vice president for Suddenlink, Mr. Kellerman, the director of governmental operations for the state of West Virginia, and Peter Brown were all in attendance at the TV cable board meeting. It was a cordial meeting. We still have issues that we would like to be able to control better as a city. However, there are some state and federal laws that prevent us from being as aggressive as what we would like to be. There are some issues relative to our opportunity to collect some taxes relative to their delivery of telephony, telephone service, that we're still trying to sort out. But more to follow on all of that stuff. There is another meeting scheduled, Mr. Edwards, I can't remember the exact date, but it's a week or 2 down the pike, I believe.
Yeah, it's in the minutes, I don't recall what it was on it.
Anyway, we'll try to get back with the council about that. A couple other real quick things. Next week is a fun time for everyone with the festival, and the city has some things that I'm sort of ceremonially involved with. Next Thursday will be the, I think, 8th honoree of the Stockbridge Youth Center in Service to Youth Champion. Since it's an honorarium, we usually get the council's thumbs up, so I'll talk to you about that in executive session. And then the fire department has also nominated their 9th Friendly Way Day honoree, and I'll also share that with you in executive session so that you all know who that will be. But next Thursday afternoon, I can't give you the particulars yet as to where it's going to be, because that might tell you who the person was, but it'll be someplace other than at City Hall. And then at Friday at 3 o'clock, the Friendly Way Day celebration will be down at the Public Safety Complex. The Lumos thing, Jay Holland's already talked about that, along with the Traders Alley project. Water ordinance. Michael, as he indicated, has a revised performance statement. It's still not in final form. However, there's going to be some things happening pretty fast and furiously relative to a water rate ordinance. At the meeting, I believe on May 27, the Water Board will hopefully have the final performance statement and recommendations for a water rate increase. At that very next meeting, that recommendation will be shared with the City Council. I believe that's June 30th. And then you all will need to instruct me to prepare the draft of the necessary ordinance, which we'd like to be able to present on first reading at the June 18 meeting. Then the second reading would be in July, and then 30 days thereafter the ordinance would be effective. So. The other big thing coming up, I think, at the next meeting, and I'm not meaning to steal Mr. Ludlow's thunder, but there have been renewed concerns about Jawbone Run, the water basin that is above the triangle going up in the Lincoln Street area. A couple of property owners have recently complained or asked for city assistance. And Mr. Ludlow is going to make a preliminary presentation to the council concerning his thoughts, a first track proposal, if you will, at a more comprehensive address of our city's stormwater problems. And I'll just mainly be in this seat nodding my head at everything he says, because nobody knows that issue like Sam Ludlow. So more to follow on that. The Deer Creek deed from the LaRosas has been recorded. What else do I have here? I'm working on a couple of matters, zoning matters for Mr. Clemens, and I provided to council his checklist, which, not to beat this thing to death, this is a checklist that Rich often mails to folks who have very preliminarily been identified as having a problematic property. It's something, frankly, that I kind of forgot about, and I was reminded about it yesterday when I was talking with Rich about a couple of these problematic properties. Just to go through it real quickly, City of Buckhannon would like to remind residents to be responsible in the care of their property as summer approaches. A number of issues appear each year that cause complaints to be filed with the city, and the roughly 10 items that are some of the more, the bigger things: be a responsible pet owner, keep grass clippings out of the street, trash cans need to be concealed, lawn care needs to be done weekly, automobiles and other items are often left to rust, yard sales limited by state law, the obeying of traffic laws and speed limits, especially in residential areas, finishing of remodeling projects within a timely period, and just general limiting littering and accumulation of junk debris, things of that sort. Storm sewer, already talked about that. The fireworks contract, as Michael mentioned, our proposals for revising that document were approved, and it's, as Michael indicated, has already been executed. Public arts project, I'd just like to mention something that was taken up probably 5 years or longer ago, right after the mural was completed down on Locust in Maine. The city was seriously considering at that time putting some lighting in to better feature the mural, and that has never happened. And it just seemed to me, as I was talking with some of the public arts folks, that maybe that's something the council could revisit Just a couple of floodlights on there would make it, you get to that corner and you think that, oh, well, that's a primary corner, it's well lit. You really can't see the mural hardly at all in the dark. So maybe something for the council to think about. And then the last thing, public service announcement, it's UCare pool party time, ready to start. Third Saturday in June, July, August. I think there's actually a Friday night that we had to move one of those, but I'll get you the dates next time unless Amanda Hayes has it memorized. 3 high school pool parties. There is a UCare middle school pool party in July, and then the first Tuesday in August is National Night Out that the UCare folks partner with the police department to do a family night out at the pool. So 5 pool parties. Hopefully they'll be bigger and better than ever, and I'll get you those dates very soon. That's all I have unless you all have questions for me. It's been a
I'm going to
busy
expand a
couple
little
of
bit on what Dave said on that lighting down at the corner of Main and Buckhannon,
On the mural.
going down the mural. We're also looking at, on top of that, looking at uplighting the lights in the planters on Main Street. We have the Christmas lights that go through the lights now, but the trees have grown and they continue to grow, and they will incorporate the lights into the trees, which makes it really hard, and it is really bad for the trees. So we're also looking at the same time that we're going to address the floodlighting of the mural, looking at uplighting the trees down on Main Street, so we get the Christmas light look out of it. So it'll be a little bit brighter as well, and they will be LED. So I just wanted to expand upon that a little bit.
Are they still going to be coming out?
Yes, Robbie's trying to determine the proper process, because now that they are so mature, you have to be a lot more careful, and particularly getting them out of those boxes. That's something we'll have to keep in mind next time, since that was a new type of thing. Any other questions?
Question.
Sure.
I've had a couple of people also mention this to me. There's a $3 charge on our cable bill that says sports package.
I've heard people complain about that.
I don't have a sports package on my cable. I'm just wondering what that is, and if anybody could find that out, please.
I think what they've done is basically,
Charged everybody for the $3.
yeah,
charge.
that's part of that
They should-
rate increase. They've established this tier that.
Do we have any advantages coming to us, or is everything going to the cable company?
Well, Mr. Pugh, it's one of those things, as I've mentioned to the council for the last, going back to 1984. The federal government deregulated the cable industry and removed all opportunity to allow local government to have any input relative to the 2 biggest issues, rates and programming. We have absolutely no control over either one of those things. So maybe Shelley Moore Capita would be the person to contact, because until, now, there are a lot of things happening in the industry. These mini bundles are going to come to pass, which are going to make cable hopefully more affordable. I don't watch the Home Shopping Network, so I shouldn't be paying it. It's a little bit like the John McCain a la carte proposal that he made several years ago. Only I think you're going to see some major changes coming. The telephone company is probably going to be getting into the cable business soon, locally. There's going to be other options, so I think we're in a state of flux right now. And the problem will, I think, largely resolve itself. This industry can't continue to exponentially increase its rates.
The consumer has the ultimate control, because they can choose alternative ways to receive their information.
That's very true. And I would remind everyone, if you take a look on YouTube, Channel 3, it was actually aired last night as well on Channel 3, the cable board meeting. It'll be on Channel 3. Michael Calver is here, who was a board member, who sat in that meeting with us, myself, and Mrs. Judy Knorr, who also sits on that board. It was a very good conversation, but it's very limited. And when we get down to it in the consent agenda, I hope the recommendation follows through.
One other comment about the mural up on Main Street. It does need some repairs. I've noticed there's paint coming off, especially in the one area where it's got a wooden door or something incorporated into the mural. There's paint coming off there that needs to be repaired.
I don't know how to do that. We'll look into that then, sir. All right, any other questions for Mr. McCall?
Yeah, thank you for reading to us.
Thank you, Dave. We got a lot going on, you know? Not all Dave's fault either. We're giving them a lot to do.
Just wait till next time.
Deb, are you gonna send out an email notice to let us know about friendly weight person and, or did you say we're gonna talk about that?
Talk about that.
Never mind, shut up.
I'll give you
All right.
the names.
Moving on along, we're going into our correspondence on the agenda. In your packets, folks, you have the Fire Civil Service Commission letter of interest from Mr. Harold Cunningham. If you're not familiar with him, he is almost a neighbor of mine and a good friend for many years, and he also sits on the Republican committee, the Upshur County or Buckhannon Republican Committee as an officer in that as well. I would entertain a motion to appoint Harold Cunningham to the Fire Civil Service Commission.
I gotta ask a question.
Sure.
Is this where we have to have one Democrat, one Republican?
Yes.
Have to have no more than two
Right,
from any
one
party,
party.
that's
So
correct.
it's okay, I mean.
He's a Republican, yes,
Okay.
and the other is an independent, so we can
Okay.
go another way.
Okay.
And this is the city appointee, is that correct, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir. It is.
I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion or comments, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have a letter from Mr. Nate Kennedy, who is with us tonight, and I'll allow him to speak here in a moment, and that's the Boy Scout food drive request. This is a yearly request, and it's a very great project for the Boy Scouts, so I would recognize Nate if he'd like to speak on behalf of the Boy Scouts in his program.
Sure. This is a continuation of food drives that we've been conducting once a year. And prior to probably about 5 years ago, we had been, or at least Troop 128 had been doing food drives twice a year. By doing this food drive in June, this will start to get us back towards where we're doing food drives twice a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. The food drive we're conducting, that we've been conducting over the last 2 years, has been more of a community-wide. We're involving all packs and all troops within all Cub Scouts and all Boy Scouts within the city of Buckhannon. We essentially what we need is permission to be able to canvass neighborhoods to solicit food donations, and we would also like to be able to use Jobelin Park as a point where we can drop off food, rebox it, and then take it down to Salvation Army.
Very good.
And looking ahead, it does a couple months down the road, but if you don't start planning now, those are the types of items that they just slip through the cracks. But when I meet with the other leaders in 2 weeks, I'll say let's start thinking about when do we want to do our fall food drive. And we've been doing it in November. Problem we run into with November is that we have shorter days. It's also colder weather, more inclement weather. If we were to be able to move back to early October, we would have much better weather and, of course, longer hours. And that's something I'll discuss with that group. But for now, the immediate interest is the food drive that we are planning for on June 6th.
June 6th. Council, I would entertain a motion then to approve the request from Nate Kennedy, Scoutmaster, Troop 128.
So move. Second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Nate, for all the work to save your troops. All right, on the next thing we have a letter from the Chamber of Commerce, appointment of Alyssa Lively to the Police Civil Service Commission. It's in your packets. I would entertain a motion.
I have the same question. Is this a,
Yes, it is appointee by the Chamber of Commerce, but not any affiliation
No,
politically.
it doesn't have to be
okay. That's
affiliated.
what I'm
It's
making.
just their, yeah, it's their, it's actually from the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
I have a tie, so you break the
matter.
tie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Alyssa. Now, we have our consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes from the April 16 regular council meeting. We have the approval of the minutes from the April 21 lay the levy special council meeting. We have the approval of the minutes from the April 30th special joint session council Upshur County Commission meeting. We have approval of the Fire Civil Service Commission promotion to Lieutenant of Mr. Baxa, or Lieutenant of Joey Baxa and Brian Ellimore. Approval to extend the current cable franchise agreement 6 months as recommended by the TV Cable Board. Approval of the building and wiring permits and approval of the payment of the bills. Before we approve that consent agenda, do any of you wish to pull any of those items off of the consent agenda for discussion? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Kapari, a second. I have a second by Mrs. Simons. Any discussion or comments on that? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Strategic issues for discussion and vote. Now, in your packets, I believe you have the Fire Civil Service list of certified eligibles as recommended by the Fire Civil Service Commission. There's 4 on that list. The recommendations are for the first 3, Mr. James A. Kimball, Mr. Franklin Baxa, and Mr. Aaron Goff. No, I'm sorry, wrong. We're going by scores, and I did it because I don't know how to change or take off names out of Excel. Mr. Kimball, I'll admit it. Oh my. Mr. Kimball is not really on that list, so the 3 candidates are Franklin Baxa, Aaron Goff, and Caleb Cutright by score. Okay. I would elaborate a little bit more. Mr. Goff was an appointee that we had just allowed to go before, but he declined for college, but he is now ready as a senior to become a Buckhannon fireman. So I would ask for...
What was his name?
Aaron Goff. Aaron Goff. He's tall, he's really good. Goff.
I just want to see it. Can I see it?
Sure.
It's in your packet, Mary.
I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve
Fire
those.
Civil Service List by the Civil Service Commission.
Yeah.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion or comments on that, folks? I'm really glad to move on with this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we have approval of the 2 additional, which is what we just... Now, we have approval of the 2 additional probational firefighters, but I think in my motion, we just approved that as well as the list of eligibles. Am I correct? Amy, did you get that? Or do I need to revise?
I'm confused.
We did.
We approved the list of 4.
List of
List of
the whole.
And then when I took out Mr. Kimball,
Yeah.
because of his score, that made
Three
the
names.
3
Yeah.
top scores.
Okay.
So that's what we did.
Carry on, boss.
So, let's just do it right. Approval of the 2 additional probationary firefighters to the Buckhannon Fire Department. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I got the motion. A second.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. We have the first.
They mention their names.
We did. I just did 3-4 times.
Yeah, I know, but
You want me to do it again?
no, I thought we weren't going to.
Oh, no, we can. Oh, somebody mentioned that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Nobody heard those names, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm gonna be in trouble for this one.
That's all right.
All right, first reading of ordinance 390, the fire fee. Mr. McCauley, I believe that's over you, sir.
Mr. Edwards, this is all the doing of that fee gouging city administrator, Michael Dawson.
Yeah.
This is the first of 2 readings of a proposed fire fee ordinance. This would be ordinance 390 of the city of Buckhannon, an ordinance amending ordinance number 225 of the city of Buckhannon by changing the manner in which the city's fire protection service fees are determined. And there's just 3 whereases, so I'll read through them real quickly. Whereas the council of the city of Buckhannon since March 21, 1966, through the enactment of ordinances number 137, 222, and 225, has provided for the imposition and collection of fees for the city's fire department, providing fire protection services throughout Buckhannon's corporate limits. And whereas the city of Buckhannon is specifically authorized pursuant to Chapter 8, Article 13, Section 13A of the West Virginia Code as amended, to provide emergency fire service protection within the corporate limits of the city of Buckhannon, and to impose by ordinance upon the users of the service such reasonable rates, fees, and charges to be collected in the manner specified by ordinance. And finally, whereas the council heretofore ordered the reconstruction and increase of said fee effective July 1, 2015, and now desires to amend and revise ordinance number 225 in accordance with its prior directions, now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the council of the city of Buckhannon as follows. What follows, Article 1, title of ordinance. Article 2 are the findings of council that largely track those whereases that I just read. Article 3 is a virtual plethora of definitions that would be plugged into the ordinance. Article 4 is really the meat of the ordinance that sets forth the fees that would be charged. That depends upon whether it's residential or commercial, but those schedules are within your ordinance. Article 5 are some greatly elaborated on administrative provisions that were not, some of them were not in the original ordinance that we did way back in 82, 83. Article 6 has a penalty for non-payment of the fire protection service fees. Article 7 is our form severability article. Article 8, the effective date of this ordinance, if you approve it on first reading tonight and then on second reading at the May 21 meeting, this would go into effect at the beginning of the new fiscal year that starts on July 1. It's my recommendation, it's mature for your consideration on first reading, that you approve ordinance 390.
Thank you, Mr. McCauley. I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance of ordinance 390 for the fire fee. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Alba. Do I have a second?
I'd like to make an amendment,
Okay,
if that's possible.
well, we got to make the motion to pass it, then we can do that as a comment. All right? Because we may not have a second, so it wouldn't really be no discussion on it to make an amendment.
I think we need some further discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do I have a second, though? To pass the fire fees, ordinance 390.
I'll second it.
Okay, well, you got to say it. I can't do, yeah.
Okay.
I have a motion and I have a second. Now we can discuss it. What is your amendment, sir, do you think?
Well, I've been saying this for a couple years, and I'm sure people are tired of me saying it, but I really think it's financially irresponsible to pass a fire fee right now without taking a very serious look at our other fee structures. That would include a police fee and the B&O. I've asked for a number of years to have a ad hoc committee or a standing committee or some form of a task force to take a very serious look at our fees, and not just the fees themselves, but the way they're structured. Because we do not have a balanced approach to our fees. And I agree we must have some increases. What they should be, I'm not really sure. I think we need to have 2 additional firefighters, but we can add those to our next year's budget without necessarily an increase in our fire fee. If we all remember, we put 14% in for the health insurance premium, and it's going to be 4%. So that's going to give you about an extra $100,000 right there. But I think we got some very, very tough decisions as a city, and to some degree the county too, in regard to what we're looking at as far as our fees are concerned. You know, Lieutenant Loudon said that he had to go up to the college for a battery issue among some individuals. Many colleges and universities are assessing a fire and a police fee to the residential students attending the college or living on the campus or attending it. We do not do that. You know, we have, and again, I do not want to think I'm saying negative things about the college, because I think it's a wonderful organization, great asset and great resources. But here you have a very multi-million dollar organization, over $50 million in revenues, that's exempt from our B&O tax. Has the largest footprint in our community as far as square footage. In this past number of years, they've only been paying actually less than $6,000 a year on their fire and police fee. I don't think we have the right structure yet. I really don't advocate what is the right structure. But I would ask, I've been asking this for a number of years, that none of us sitting up here really have an investment as far as a business within the community, maybe with the exception of you, Pam. But there are people that have businesses within our community that are not residential, but they have substantial investments here. I think we ought to have a process where we ask people, I'd include a business faculty from Wesleyan, Chamber of Commerce president, Development Authority, to take a look at our fee structures. What do we need? And at the same time, I again will lay a challenge down to the county. You know, I can build a 6,000-foot house half a mile from town, and I'm going to pay $25 a year for the fire fee. We get 1/7 of it. I think it's time for us to really have some very, very good discussions and some tough choices about what we're doing for our fees for the future. And how much do we really need? I mean, I'm not really sure, but I don't think simply taking one fee here and another fee there. I think all three, police, fire, and comprehensive, or B&O tax, we should look at those as a whole system and then do it. So, I mean, I think we need a fire fee increase, but I'm not going to approve the way it is now. I'm sorry. But I think we have some real issues we need to discuss. So that's my, I'd like to make an amendment to that motion. I think we could take 3 to 6 months. Michael, how much are we going to save from not having the 14% increase in our health insurance premium?
I have to calculate that, Dave.
I'd say it's between $90,000 and $100,000 on the budget. I mean, we spend almost $900,000 a year on health insurance.
You got to keep in mind, Dave, that may be large picture, but you have water, sewer, and waste in that, so it doesn't take away from
I understand, but I would separate the utility boards distinctly from the fire and police fee and the B&O. So I don't think there's any particular hurry that we have to go with this right now. I think we ought to hire the people. I think that's important. But I think we could hold off on the fire and the police fee and the B&O for 3 to 6 months. And let's do it the way it should be done, not just one at a time. That's my comment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Thomas, and those are very good points, and I agree with you, and you have been saying it for years. Are you standing up then and volunteering to chair such an ad hoc committee if I were to make such?
I would co-chair it. I think Michael Doss would be involved in it. But, I mean, this is a tough issue we have to deal with.
Yes, and you're the one that seems to have all the plans and the ideas ready to do it.
I'll chair it or co-chair it or try-chair it, whatever you want to talk about. But we need to get people involved, and I think we are involving a lot of people in the last 6 months to 12 months.
Sure.
I think that's a good
And
thing.
you know what, I'm willing to do that just in a moment. Let's finish up this motion. And then we'll discuss the fire fees on this motion, and then we will return to Mr. Thomas's suggestion here in a moment. Are there any other questions or comments concerning the first reading of 390? All right, hearing none then, I would ask, whatever, on the second vote, I would entertain, all in favor say aye, right? Is that where we're at?
What are we voting for?
We're voting for the fire fee, 390. First reading of ordinance 390 on the fire fee. We have a motion and a second. It's a first reading. All in favor say aye.
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 For the ordinance. What is it, nobody talking today?
Okay.
Wait a minute. All right, let's try this again.
I
Do we
really
have a roll
asked,
call vote, Mayor?
I really asked for an amendment
We need it.
to table,
Well,
to table.
actually, well, we got a motion on the table now, and if it does not pass, then you can do a motion to table. We are just now gonna,
But you can make a motion to table before you vote for the motion.
this is just the first reading. We can do it before the next reading, yes, absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, I made a motion
I heard
to,
you, and I'm getting there. I had a roll call vote motion, so Amby, would you please call the roll call?
Okay, voting in favor of the first reading of ordinance 390, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Simons?
Yes.
yes.
Saulbaum? Ron Pugh?
No.
Pam Perry?
Yes.
Dick Thomas?
No.
Motion passes. Now, before we move on to the next thing on the item, I would ask council, would they entertain a motion to allow an ad hoc committee to look at all of our fees and to allow Mr. Thomas to chair and find himself a co-chair and to make all the arrangements to present to city council, and we'll make it, since we know how much he enjoys time limits on such things, we will make it a 90-day. So give me a date on 90 days from now that he can return with the committee to present to council the recommendations of such an ad hoc committee.
August 7th?
August 7th?
Somewhere there.
By August 7th, it could be earlier.
August 6th.
So it can't be any later than that. That's what an ad hoc committee is. It has to be defined by time. I would entertain a motion to do such. I believe Amby wrote all of them.
I've got a recorder.
I would make that motion, sir.
I have a motion by Mrs.
And I will second that
Can
motion.
I ask, can I ask some questions?
Not yet?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, well, I got a second, so yes, you can now.
Okay. How would you like the process to involve citizens within our community?
That's up to you.
It's up to you. You're the chairman of the
You're
committee.
gonna let me make all the...
You're it. You're the man with the plan.
God help us.
Well, you know, I have to, I'm glad to do it, and I think it's very important, and I'd ask Michael Doss to co-chair it with me. I think that's important, that you want the treasurer of the city to be...
I'm not so sure that right,
I
this is a
think
voluntary.
you should ask Ron since he agrees with you
Oh,
on
yeah.
that motion.
I agree on the purpose, but I'm already co-chairing,
Who's
chairing
co-chairing
another.
the ADA?
I would suggest that any co-chair be a citizen and not a member of the government.
Okay,
I agree.
okay.
I will be your secretary and
So,
recorder.
let me ask a point of order.
Sure.
What happens, you have the 90-day process
Mhm.
to review our fees. Let's say the next meeting, I won't, but you all decide to go ahead with a fire fee increase.
That would not be included in your discussions.
So, in other words, the fire fee will not be revisited.
Depending upon how it turns out at the next meeting, yes. Okay, put it this way, if it's a positive vote on the second reading, then no, it would not be part of your committee. If on the second reading it does not pass, then yes, it would be a part of your discussions. It would be inclusive.
My whole point of discussing this was to discuss all the fees comprehensively rather than simply pick one here and one
I
there.
would assure you there are plenty of other fees for you to discuss, but this fee right now has been discussed quite a bit and thoroughly taken care of. If council at that point believes that you are right, then they could not pass that on second reading. It would become a part of your discussion.
What about after he was all done and that ordinance was in place, we could cancel that ordinance?
Oh, gosh, I would not. It takes, well, first of all, you got to keep
Amend
in
an
mind,
ordinance?
we do the ordinance, then it takes the 30 days to do.
Okay.
That would be up to council at that point.
Got
But we have a first reading, we got a second, and now Mr. Thomas is chairman of that committee. You can find yourself a co-chair. Please get with Teresa to make any arrangements if you need to counsel or whatever, but I applaud you for standing up to do it, and here's your big chance.
Can Miss Light ask the question?
Let's see her held up a hand and them.
What? Just on the application of it, on page 5, and so I understand, it excludes people that are residents in apartment, am I right? It says, any dwelling, mobile home, apartment, not separately occupied, or apartment shall be considered as part of the dwelling house, mobile home, or apartment, shall not be subject to any additional charges. Okay, then you go down below and it says the monthly fee is calculated on gross receipts levied against each occupied office or business. My question is, thinking of those on Main Street, just as an example, Lewis Jewelers, let's take, for example. So if I understand right, Lewis Jewelers is on the first floor of a building. And it says I read earlier, if it contains commercial and residential dwellings or properties, it would be considered non-residential, which I would assume would make it commercial. So therefore, Lewis Jewelers, and I'm just using that as an example, you would base his fire fee on his annual gross receipts, correct? Okay, so he would pay that. Would that affect then the residents in the apartments above?
No. What it would do is have the residents increase their fee because they have their own water bill.
But would theirs would not be based on anything on the commercial end of it?
No.
Okay. All right,
Unless they own all the apartments up there.
That'd be double dipping.
No, the residents would not think,
Yes.
like I said, if there's a commercial guy and he's gonna be levied, okay, so it would not affect those, that's fine, I just wasn't sure how it worked.
No, it's just an increase for the residents.
Thank you.
Would you like to co-chair that?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Were there any other questions concerning the fire fee? Sorry, I didn't see you raise your hand or anything. All right, so we have the approval in your packet of the sale of the 1986 fire truck to Belfry Volunteer Fire Department. I'd entertain a motion to accept that bid.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, or any discussion on that, folks? I know it seems cheap, but quite honestly, I think we're stepping out just in time on that truck. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have the approval in your packet of the West Virginia Strawberry Festival request for city sponsorship. They are asking for, what, just the sponsorship? The City of Buckhannon has typically been a sponsor of the opening ceremonies, $500, as well as a portion of the King's Float, $850. These are in hundreds. We are hoping that it is within your budget to continue these sponsorships of $1,350. If you at all possible, we are also asking that you consider increasing your sponsorship this year to $2,600 to also include the coronation and reception of $1,250. The coronation is the most elegant event of the festival. Honored guests and I thought you were trying to get my attention. Honored guests this year include Earl Tomlin, Governor Tomlin, and Commissioner of Agriculture Walt Helmick. Do I have a motion to approve the request from the West Virginia Strawberry Festival for city sponsorship?
Wait a minute.
For the new amount?
For the new amount totaling,
Do we have money in the budget? Can I have a
well,
question?
we can, let's do the motion and then we can answer questions and all of that. So they're increasing the sponsorship. They want us to do $2,600 total. That's what the motion is for. $2,600 sponsorship from the city of Buckhannon. Do I have a motion to do such?
I'll move. Second.
I have a motion and I have a second now discussion. Were there any questions or comments on that call? I have a call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I have approval of Almost Heaven, it's in your packet as well. Approval of Almost Heaven Barbecue Bash request. Various street closures and parking areas for the June event. I will state for the record that this was brought before Consolidated Public Works Board and there were no issues. And there were also discussions with some of the business leaders down that would be affected perhaps by any closures, and there seemed to be no objection to that because we're going to handle it about the same way as we do the Strawberry Festival. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the request from Almost Heaven Barbecue Bash for various street closures and parking areas for June event, which has already been recommended by the Consolidated Public Works Board.
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion, I have a second.
I'll second.
Alice Kapari and
I have a
Simon,
question.
I think. Question?
How's your co-chair?
What?
Did Mary have an accident?
Yeah, Mary fell down some steps last Saturday during getting ready for the blood screening, broke 6 bones in her foot.
Oh, my
She's
gracious.
in a, she's in a cast, in a wheelchair, can't put any weight on. She goes back to Ruby Memorial on Tuesday to find out she has to have surgery. So she will be in a wheelchair for the barbecue bash, so I'll be leaning on even more people to help, but thank you for asking.
All right, so any other questions or comments on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, finally, we have done to H, our comments and announcements. Before we go into such, I would, you know what, no, I'm not. I will defer to my left, Mr. Thomas, sir.
You gotta quit laughing, I guess. My phone number is 472-7007. Anybody who would like to be part of this process in regard to reviewing our fee structure, please give me a jingle. I'd sure like to have a co-chair. And I didn't want to diminish the work that David and Michael have done on the current fire fee recommendation for the ordinance. But I stated my position pretty thoroughly numerous times, and I think it's something we have to take a very serious look at. So you'll have a nice weekend and a wonderful, safe Strawberry Festival.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mrs. Kapari.
I'd like for us to possibly by the fall, when the college students get back, to have mics up here for us, because I've heard lots of comments that people in the back are not being able to hear us. I know I speak kind of low, and then the longer you talk, the lower you get. So I'd like to maybe get a couple mics up here by the time the college gets back.
And one for the guest that speaks over there.
Yes, yeah, and one there.
I would agree with that. And just for review's sake, I think at one point a few years back, there had been
talked
research
about
on
it.
doing, and it was not an inexpensive proposition.
Then they hear our stomachs growl all the time.
Or if you're in the
Well,
restroom, from what I've seen on Facebook.
Better
go ahead.
stomachs and something
Thank you,
else.
Mayor. And to build on what Pam Perry was saying, we at Channel 3 get complaints sometimes about they can't hear the council because there are no microphones like there are at county.
Okay. Either that or your microphone's too small.
I'm sorry, what?
Very good. All right, anything else, Mrs. Kapari?
Also, I just want to remind people that we are going to have a fireworks for the 4th of July, which will be actually on July the 3rd, Festival Friday evening. I'm still looking for volunteers. If we want to make it successful and continue, we need bodies. So my next meeting is May the, 18th, Monday at 5 o'clock here at City Hall. And I appreciate some people to come out to volunteer. We have several things planned and we're doing okay, but we need bodies to help. So I'd appreciate that.
And I want to thank you for the leadership in that committee. It's coming along very well, and I'm really impressed with the work that you've been doing with that committee, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Pugh?
The ADA committee is going to meet on the 21st of May. I have, so far I've gotten Ms. Henderson, Jerry Arnold, Jay Holland, Mr. James Samples, Dennis Cortez, and Cindy Fry, and I cannot remember the lady to call her name.
Andy Workman?
And Andy Boyles, yeah.
Yes,
And
Andy.
I have not contacted her, so Andy, if you're listening, love to have you on there, and I will be calling you probably this weekend. We're going to do a walkthrough on the 21st, I believe, of downtown Buckhannon. And we were promised that we would have a map of the intersections and what's needed, and I intend to walk through it before that too. But
What time
Time
do
is
you have
the
to walk?
meeting?
I can't remember. What?
1:30.
1:30. Yeah, 1:30.
What, here?
Yes, 1:30.
Very good.
So you're going to meet here?
21st. Yeah, we're going to meet here, and then we're going to walk up the streets and back down the streets. And if anybody wants a chance to ride one of the scooters.
Or be pushed in a wheelchair?
I'm not pushing you anywhere in a wheelchair, Mary, but you can ride a scooter if you'd like to.
Anything else, sir?
No, sir. Have a happy Strawberry Festival and stay out of trouble and enjoy the festivities. They're going to be marvelous this year.
It's going to be great. Mrs. Albaugh? Thank you, sir.
The Vietnam Memorial wall that is coming, I'm going to be putting out some messages on the American Legion Post 7's Facebook page, letting the community know, and I'll notify you guys too. I'm hoping to get some flags that we can hand out to welcome them to when they come off 79 onto 33 all the way to Buckhannon. Okay, and we've got some veterans on and motorcycle riders and a lot of other people are going to try to work with us on that. But if you want to, if you are a veteran in your or have a veteran in your family, or if you just want to, or just proud of the fact that the Vietnam Memorial Wall is coming to Buckhannon, come out and join us, and we'll let you know. Well, actually, he says it's going to be on the. They're coming through about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe, and so that's a good time of the day. But I'll be posting more on Facebook about that.
May I comment about that to you, please? We have, I go to the Forest Festival, not the Forest Festival, the Buckwheat Festival almost every year. And one of the Vietnam groups always has a trailer over there that has for sale POW/MIA flags, American flags, state flags like that. And I don't think I've ever seen one here at the Strawberry Festival.
I don't think so either. I do know that we as the American Legion are going to have a information table over there and manned for about 3 days. That's about all we can do. But, and we'll be hoping to have some of the little paraphernalias and things to give out to people when they come by.
It certainly is nice to be able to buy a flag to put up at your home and everything.
That's a great idea.
I've got one that honors all 6 branches of the service.
That's good.
Anything else, Mrs. Alba?
Nope, that's it. And I guess, are we going to have another council meeting before Strawberry Festival?
No, not before, no.
It's not scheduled.
21st is the
Next week.
Oh,
We're off
okay.
Strawberry.
Well, enjoy the Strawberry Festival.
Well, you're asking for one.
Oh, and Mary, you're going to be riding in the parade, aren't you?
Which one?
The Strawberry Festival parade.
Well, there's like 3.
But didn't they,
I mean,
I'm going to be in, yes.
where
I will
you-
be-
one of them you're gonna
I'm
be
going to be in the Fireman's Parade.
I seem to
and
remember
the
they
other
used to ask all the council members to be in the parade too. But
one. Yeah, I don't know. What
They don't do that.
All right, Mrs. Simons?
I'd like to remind everyone of Mother's Day weekend,
Oh,
Sunday, and honor your mother if she's still alive. You only have one. Take a moment to do that, and I hope everyone has a good one.
I want to take this time. Oh, yes, go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry for that.
Also, the Strawberry Festival is looking for vehicles for the parades. If anybody has a vehicle they'd like to donate to be used in the parade or want to drive in the parade, please contact Charlene Eubank at the Strawberry Festival Board. Also, I just want to say, several years ago, I was on the board of Strawberry Festival, and people have no idea the man hours and what goes into, I mean, they work all year long to make this a success. And so any kind of volunteerism that you can do is very much appreciated. And I want to thank the City Council, because I know what it costs for all this stuff, to approving the rate increase in their donation for the Strawberry Festival. I appreciate that.
I spent 12 years on the board too, and yes, it's a
I
thankless
spent
job.
10 years.
I haven't, and I won't, but but I want to say last year they provided a float for the veterans, and it was awesome. You know, it was awesome. They really loved it, being honored in that way, and it's great.
All right, well,
really great.
before I close, I do got a couple of comments. I want to thank, first of all, this council for the work they have done in the past 6 months. 8 months really technically for me, but the past 6 months we've been through a lot of meetings. We've taken a lot of special time to listen to the community. We are taking special time to make sure we're reading these ordinances and making sure that the proper ordinance is what the city needs, and giving the opportunity for the citizens to come back with this discussion on it. I want to thank you in particular for all the time that you put forward for this. I also am very proud of the fact that each one of you are stepping up in some way to lead in this community at some form or manner. Different issues that we are now addressing. I think it's fantastic the way it's working. I'm going to back off though at this point, because we've had 5 different special meetings in the past 6 months that we've added to. We've got summer coming up, so I have not planned any special meetings except for a town hall sometime at the beginning of August, middle of August, so we can rediscuss some of that. But I can't tell you enough, and I want to let the citizens know that what a pleasure it is to work with you guys on this and to see the effort and the progress that we're making. I can't say enough the effort and the work that our departments do, particularly, you know, you think it's tough during the wintertime when it's really cold and nasty weather. But I gotta tell you, I think one of the worst times is also in the summer, because I hate the heat. And I imagine being out there is almost as atrocious as being freezing. So all the work that our city folks do and our personnel do is really an amazing thing. And I want our citizens to understand that. I have nothing else except please enjoy the Strawberry Festival. If you have anything that you can help with the Strawberry Festival, if there's anything that the city may be able to do, please don't hesitate to give me a call, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Do I have, as I always do, I will conclude by opening the floor to anyone who has any comments or discussion that they would like to say in regards to this meeting. Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Executive session.
Well, it's too late. They can come up and tell us. We have an executive session. I would ask, I almost thought we were done. I would entertain going to executive session.
All right.
Per West Virginia Code 9-.
Bye, guys.